All right, so what we got today, 2024 Duramax L5P, and we are installing the Insane Diesel oil filter bypass system. We're gonna do a frame mount underneath. You guys are gonna love this, so stick around, watch. And as you guys can see, we're doing a frame mount. There she is right there. So my hoses are all gonna be really short because we're gonna go from here to here, out of here to here. So everything's gonna be nice and compact. So you get this plug out. So that right there, you take out the plug from that. Now reference it from where the oil filter screws on, right below it. So this is the fitting that screws into that pressure port and then gives you an AN fitting to then attach your line. I should probably take the flashlight out of my mouth. People are strange when you're a stranger. That plug that comes out of there is a 20 millimeter by 1.5. So you take that out and then you get the AN to 20 millimeter by 1.5. It is Boss O-ring. No need to Loctite that in or nothing. It just goes in and seals with that O-ring. Okay, so we have a new process here for installing these. I got tired of sitting there with a screwdriver and a pick and stuff, and I just happened to be watching good old TikTok one day, and the guy did this. And that's that, butted all the way up. Here is a trick that I will teach you. My old uncle Tanner taught me this. And when you're putting these in there, if you throw a little bit of lube on that, this will mate up into that hose without twisting or pushing the hose out. You can get these pretty far by hand once you get them some lube. Grab yourself a pair of 19 millimeters. Make sure you're watching this junction right here, the hose to the fitting, to make sure it's not pushing out or twisting as you're tightening this until that collar just touches. You don't need to crank on that. Depending on where you mount your bracket to put the bypass, the length of the hoses are going to be different from install to install. This kind of depends on all of the other accessories and stuff that are with the vehicle. I am going to put that on, but see how it's going to run into that filter housing right there? I don't like that. So let's get it up on the other side of it like that. And it'll also give us a little bit more room to play with the hose length. I'm not gonna tighten it down quite yet because we're gonna come in right about here. So you're gonna see where it's in on the filter housing. So we're gonna come about to there with it. But you gotta remember that fitting has a little bit of length on it like this. And we know we need to bring that hose into about, the pressure port goes into the input port, and then coming out of the filter is gonna dump into the Banks oil pan right here. So I'm gonna mark my line, and I'm gonna use some electrical tape. And the reason why I'm gonna use the electrical tape is also because that's gonna give me my perfect cut, and it helps preserve the line when you cut. So we come back up, get our length again. We know we want to go to right about there, so I'm going to put my tape on it right like that, and then we're going to cut it. Now to cut it, I like using these. I picked these up at Home Depot or whatever. It's a Klein tool, it's a cable cutter tool. Literally cuts that easy, and it doesn't fill up the line with dust from the grinder cutoff wheel. And then from this position, I'm going to pull off my tape that I used. I'm going to pop this part of the fitting off, put it in my handy dandy socket screwer. Make sure that your pieces are inside the ferrule, and then as you can see now, we're totally bottomed out in that fitting. Nice and easy peasy. So now we can take this little booger out. We'll give her some lube, start it up in here, and then we can start tightening these down. Okay, now we got to get some thread sealant. This is just a Loctite brand thread sealant. Put a little bit of dab on there. Now you got to be very careful when you do this that you don't leave it on the inside exposed area to get into the filter. So you need to wipe it out and out, just like that. So we're gonna go into the in port. Make sure we get to the proper torque spec, and then we'll kind of repeat the process coming into the Banks oil pan from the out port of here. Comprende? Understood? And of course, rinse and repeat over and over again. Okay, so some of you are probably gonna ask me, how come I don't put thread sealant on this right now when I go to put it in this pan? The reason is because the short hoses that we're dealing with, if it gets to a point to where I need to take the other hose all the way out to put the ends on and all of that stuff, I don't want to be doing it with thread sealant on. So I'll get the whole entire hose made, and then we'll start putting thread sealant on. Okay, so I like that length right there. Now remember, we're going to do it the same way. I'm gonna get me a piece of tape. I don't want too much slack. I like that right about there, so that is where we're gonna put it, right there. Some people leave the tape on, just personal preference. All the way butted in. So now we'll pop this booger out, give her some lube. Grabbing my handy dandies. Hope I don't drop them there in that oil bucket. Like that. Okay, so now we can start putting on some of our thread sealant. And again, let me show you. You get this thread sealant on that edge, you need to wipe it off. You don't want that going up into your filter. So Banks made their pan with this optional, not optional, it's standard equipment. It's a threaded port, it's 1/8 inch NPT. Their purpose is for somebody who wants to put an oil temp sensor right there. The vehicle's already got oil temp sensors in the thing, so we're gonna use that as our return port for the Insane Diesel oil filter bypass system. Perform with level of excellence. That's a 16 millimeter. Okay, so those are tight. We ain't done yet. Next thing we want to do is make sure that those lines all stay secure. So we're going to throw a couple zip ties on them. Last thing we want is them things rubbing where they're not supposed to rub. So we're going to put one there, and we're going to run another one right there. We're going to fill her up with the Lorenzo oil, and we're going to start it and prime the system, and she'll be done. So yeah, anyway, I don't know if we're going to show you guys how to put oil in a truck because it's a no-brainer. Alrighty, so we're gonna lay this out nice and plain and obvious. We're coming out of a pressure port from the oil filter adapter housing. We're coming across the top, going into the filter. Then it comes from the filter through the progressive from 10 micron down to 1 micron, back from the out port over and into the oil pan. And it's gonna sit there and recirculate oil at about 1 quart a minute at 40 psi. And you get up there to 60 psi, that climbs a little bit. I'm not sure of what the exact number is, but even at 1 quart a minute, that's 60 quarts an hour. Do the math, guys. It's filtering that many gallons of oil a day, and it's doing it down to 1 micron. It's pretty tight.